Namaste, Swagatam, Vanakam, welcome. Thank you again for joining us today at Sampurna, Australia. We're so happy to have you here today to join us and spend some time in our journey to health and journey to wellness, to wholeness. As we know what Jivan Jyoti is, we've been running the program, that seminar, as you can see on your screen, and been doing it for the last 4 weeks. And we are so grateful to have you here with us and just to join us on a journey. We're all learning, we're all growing. We've been looking at the topic of fear over the last few weeks, but we are so grateful that you are here again to join us, and we will go through fear and relationships today. But before we do, we love to hear from you. We want to know how you've been doing yourself, and if you'd like to leave a comment, to share, to like any of the things that are helpful to you, we'd love to hear how you are doing. We'd love to contact with you and just yeah, just make new friends. And if there's anything that we can do for you, we'd love to be able to do that. We'd love to hear from you to get encouragement from you as well. And so again, we just thank you for joining us, for being here. And as we go throughout this afternoon, as we spend some time together, yeah, we hope that you will gain a blessing as well, as we share some of our stories of fear and relationships, as we go about doing that. So again, the number on your screen, you can as you can see uh, on your screen there, you can see some numbers. The phone number at the bottom there is 0478 119. You can message us on there as well. Again, Sampurna Australia on YouTube. You can contact us through that. You're welcome to send a message, ask any questions. Yeah, we'd be happy to help out. So yeah, please feel comfortable to ask those questions, to share your thoughts. As we start today, this afternoon, I just want to introduce you to a special friend of ours. Her name is Kay Fisher, and I'll let her introduce a little bit about herself, and she'll take it from here. Thank you, Kay.
Thank you. I'm Kay. I'm currently a archaeology student, and I'm majoring in Middle Eastern, Athenian, and Roman archaeology. And I became involved with the Sampurna through friends of my church who invited me along to some of the programs, and I guess I just stayed there and became part of the family. So it's nice to be here.
Thank you, Kay. Let me just ask one question before I leave it with you. What got you interested in? I know you like Indian food and other things like that. So, what got you interested in the first place in with that? I know Pakistani food as well, Pakistani clothing and stuff like that. So,
Um,
tell us something.
I really don't know. It just kind of happened.
Right, okay. Thank you. It's good, but it's good to have you. I know you enjoy some of the foods and stuff that we share, like Josephine makes and the rest of the group makes, and so yeah, we're glad to have you part of us.
Thank you.
I'll let you ask. Go ahead with today's
Mhm.
program.
Okay, so today we're talking about fear. And so, in order to help us understand a little bit more about it, my friend Jocelyn is going to give a short overview of fear and how it can affect our lives.
Thank you, Kay, and thank you, Russell. It's a wonderful privilege for me to share something that I have learned and how certain things that I have learned, I would love to share it with our team members and people who are watching. Today, we want to delve into a very important topic that probably everyone in the world would agree. The topic that we are going to discuss or to share some information, this is just an educational information that we are sharing, nothing for us to prescribe. If you've got any questions, any concerns, we would really advise you to seek any counselor or any information that is medically advised. Just going to fear affecting relationship. Throughout life, we go through different relationships. Throughout the course of human life, we start our relationship with parents and children. Then we move on to having relationship with our teachers. So we are students and teachers. Then comes our sibling, friends, then employer and employee. then again back again to where we started, husband and wife. So the relationship circle goes throughout our life. Going to fear, how fear affects relationship. There is a lot of talk about fear, how it affects our relationship. Very important thing is many times we all go through a lot of fear, underlying fear, and how fear affects our relationship, but they are unspoken or we can't even sometimes name them. So, as probably you would remember, in the last few weeks, we talked about emotional wheel. This is the emotional wheel that you can see on the screen. We've got primary emotion and secondary emotion. We usually talk about fear, happy, sad. They are secondary emotion. That's what researchers say. They are secondary emotion. And the primary emotion can be either, if you look at this circle, you can see it on the second circle. So these are secondary and tertiary emotions that we face in relationship. So for someone who is fearful or someone who's having a ill feeling in their relationship, I would really encourage you to use this. Download it, use it, and see what is your primary emotion that you're facing. Researchers or people who are experts in relationship and counseling, they say the basic or main or baseline primary emotions or secondary emotions what people face in relationship is people are scared. People can be anxious, insecure, weak, rejected, or threatened. All these secondary or primary emotions can affect people in relationship and cause fear. I was recently reading a book on boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townend. This is what he said. For any relationship to grow and thrive, people should be free of fear or should not be slaves to fear. And the core element that we all know is any relationship needs love. And as we all probably know, perfect love drives out fear. And I would like to share with you one relationship that affected my professional life a lot. Um, I don't want to name or the place or where what happened. I just want to give you a little view into my own personal life issue and how I battle with fear and how it affected my life. I was working in a certain place. I was happy. I was a very enthusiastic person trying to do whatever I can to fulfill my own professional passion that I had. And one day it so happened. People do make mistakes. It so happened that I had made a mistake unknowingly, and the implication that happened, or the way my manager, my boss, treated me unfairly. That's what I thought, or that's what I believe. Unfairly. What I mean by unfairly is I had done a mistake unknowingly, and when they found out what had happened, it was a genuine mistake. But my manager was not kind enough or was not reasonable enough for her to reason out and say, yeah, that's a mistake, but we have understood, it was all clear, the paper was clean. But yet she went ahead to pose punishment on me unfairly. And I was new to all these laws and rights as a employee as a employee being employed in that organization. When I had to face a lot of um, issues, what I was not expecting or what I was not used to, that put a lot of fear in my heart. um, After a few years, I did not take much notice of the incident that had happened, but unknown to me, it left a big scar in my life. And as I moved from one job to another, I didn't know the element of transferable fears. We in the psychology world or in counseling world, they talk about fears that are transferable. So my experience with a manager in one job or one organization, that affected me deeply, and it actually carried through to the next job. So my view was clouded. So now I saw my manager with fear. I was fearing, what could she do, or what could they do to me, in spite of me knowing, even though I'm doing right, I shouldn't have fear, but it brought fear to me because of the underlying pain that I had, or the experience that I had from the previous job. But in the course of time, I had faced a lot of obstacles in my own professional development because of this fear that I had. My manager, whom I was working under, was a totally different person. Was she didn't know she didn't know anything about my past life or anything that has happened, but it was me who was carrying that fear in me that affected my life after. So it affected me a lot, and by a lot of study and working, I have been able to um deal with my current boss and lead a much happy professional life. And I thank you, Kay, for giving me this opportunity to share my story as to how fear had affected my relationship with my boss. And I remember you sharing in the past about your experience with your teacher, or in your college, or school. Would you share something? Would you kindly share that experience with us?
Mhm. So my experience was in university. It was my first year of a degree, and I'd actually transferred out of another degree into this particular one because I heard it was really good. And for the first few weeks, everything was fine. I got on really well with my lecturers. I made friends, but until about the third week, the first semester, there was this one particular lecturer who just seemed to take an instant dislike to me. I don't know why. She just did. And so from then on, she basically made me feel like I didn't deserve to be part of the class. She'd use my work as an example of what not to do, as she famously told the class once. And it got to the stage where I didn't want to go to class. I didn't even want to be in the degree anymore. Um, I tried, every time I tried, she'd just belittle me, belittle my work. And she'd often, make jokes about me in front of the class and, encourage others to laugh too. And it got to the point where I just thought, well, what's the point? I'll see out this semester, and hopefully next semester we'll have a different lecturer. So I managed to make it to the end of semester one, and the next semester came, and I actually moved campuses because I'd heard the teachers are really good at the other one. And to my surprise, she was actually rostered at that campus for that semester. And things just got really bad. I was in a very down, depressed state. I couldn't see like any future. I just thought, why am I doing this? I'd leave class crying. And it took me a long time to realize that I wasn't the problem. And yeah, it was not a nice experience. And it left me with a distrust of this particular institution. And it made me never, ever want to go back and even work in that field again. So yeah, it was very not nice.
Oh. Thank you, Kay, for sharing that part of your life, and how you had gone through a fear, how your fear had, how your experience with your teacher, your professor, your lecturer had put a lot of fear in your heart. Thank you, Kay, for this time. Now I want to hand this time to Russell, and I've got Russell, one of our team members who you saw introducing the program, and I've got Russell and Charles. I give this time to both of you to share your part and your share of how fear had affected your relationship. So it's time for you, Russ and Charles.
Th- thank you, Josephine. Thank you for sharing, both of you, Kay as well, for sharing your stories. And yeah, I guess fear is something that's real, and we all have it in all our relationships. It could be part of our relationships, and it affects us quite a lot. And just sad to see the bullying, I guess, at times. In these institutions where we hope that we would be able to grow. But yeah, things haven't worked out like that. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. It is hard. I guess for guys, we don't feel any fear. We are strong. So, like, we don't have to worry about fear at all. Not really. We maybe put on a brave face. And I think many times as guys, especially in Southern Asia, in India, Pakistan, I don't know, Sri Lanka, all of us, like, we thought to be strong and we can't be afraid. We can't cry. We can't do those things. And I guess for me, one of the things for about fear, how has it affected me? I just in our parents, we love our parents. In our culture, we respect them, we hold them very dear to us, and they are very dear to us. They have sacrificed so much. All of us here can probably easily say our parents have sacrificed so much and given so much for us, done so much for us because uh, they've invested all their life in us so that we can have a better life than they have had. And definitely I can say that as well. But I guess one of the things that, just looking back and growing up, just because our parents, I think of my father, and I think just because he wants the best for me, and wants me to be to grow up to be someone who is respectable, someone who is careful, and someone who is, who gives respect and honor to people, who works hard. I guess sometimes in doing that, to discipline me, there was need maybe to be strict. And it's not a bad thing to be strict, but for me, it just I came to the point, maybe I was so scared of him that I would just not say anything. And I think, I mean, when he says something, that's it, I'll do it. Or otherwise, I would get a hiding. I'd get maybe hit with something or something just because I've done something wrong. And so I think how it has affected me in my relationships, I guess my relationship with my dad has never been as close. Maybe other people can relate to it as well. And I would hope that I can still build that relationship, and not to be fearful of him. I'm not fearful of him now, but as a kid growing up, maybe some of us have had the same experience. And I just want like a more open, real relationship with him as well, just to be able to share things. And I guess maybe, and I think, how fear has affected me in other ways, in that way, as in maybe it has affected me in making good friends who are guys, who I can relate to, who I can talk to, who I can be open with. Yeah, I think that's something that maybe has affected me, and something that I'm I'm going through in life. And just to be, it's just making me more mindful of the relationships I have. So not necessarily something that is maybe even affecting me right now, but something in the past that still affects us in our relationships. And that's another thing about fear, because it can affect us even long down in the future, as well as in areas we may not necessarily think, actually. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that and share a little bit of my experience. And I just want to hand that time to Charles as well, and he can share a little bit of his experience with fear. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Russell. It's so good to see you today, and good to see each one of you. That you presented a story of how fear affected each one of you. My life and fear is more connected with my life, particularly my life with my family. When I see my father, as Russell shared, I have similar fear. In childhood, every time when I saw my father, I was scared. My father is basically a gigantic, tall, white and white, um, um, well dressed, well groomed. He looks like a leader. Okay, when I say white and white, I mean that he in the local village looks like one of the panchayat leader. Okay, he used to be a hefty man. That in itself made a lot of fear in my heart. And secondly, my father is very strict. My father used to be very strict. Um, he supervises everything in our family. He keeps an eye on all the children like eagle. Okay, so I was really very scared about my daddy. He's a strict disciplinarian. He's a strong and tall figure. He comes in the local dress called the dhoti and shirt, white dhoti and white shirt. That means there's somebody is so figured out in the local villages. Okay, now I'm coming to my story. How I used to get scared of my father. I was in a boarding school in one of the well-known, well-reputed school locally where I lived in my village. So I was in boarding. I have a boarding master, but I have never been so scared of my boarding master. But I used to be very scared of my father. The reason because every day, morning and evening, whether the boarding master looks at my homework or assignments or not, my dad will come to my hostel, take my books, and check whether I have done well in my day-to-day school homework or assignments. If I had not done well, he has already assigned one of my friends to have a stick every day to beat me. So this friend is a very faithful friend of my father. Although he looks my good friend, he was a very faithful friend of my father. He used to take a stick every day right in front of me, and he'll be waiting to give to my father. Okay. So you can imagine my fear now. Someday I do my homework well, and the other day I don't. When I didn't do well, that stick will break me, and the stick will break in itself, because my dad uses a stick for his good purpose to correct me with that stick. You know how the corrections with the sticks in India. I come from India. I come from this Tamil state called Tamil Nadu. And importantly, I come from the South Tamil. And I'm from a village. You can imagine the fear that has come into my heart with a father, tall figure. Okay. One day, one afternoon, all of a sudden during lunchtime, my dad came to hostel. That was the time I was having lunch. I just left my plate like that. I did not eat. I went and hid myself in one of the hostel rooms. My dad was searching for me all over all the hostel rooms. And lo and behold, I told all my friends, please don't betray me today. Friends, please don't betray me today. My dad went to room after room after room. He asked all my friends. Thankfully, that day, all my friends were so good to me. None of them betrayed me. And I went and hid myself behind one of those boxes. You know, we used to have our boxes. We don't have a locker. We have a typical trunk box. I hid myself behind a trunk box, and my dad was not able to find me. And at the end of the day, he started to shout my name. Charles, where are you? Come out. Charles, come out, come out. Do you think I will come out? I will not. So my dad thought I am not here. He left. And I thought the story is over. My dad is not going to beat me today. When he returned back in the evening, I got the double portion for afternoon and for the evening. Why? Because I was a disobedient child. I did not respect my father. So this is pretty much the fear on my father. And this fear is still there in my heart. I'm able to remember those stories. The moment father appears in my mind, what appears in my mind and heart is not love. Although my dad did everything to correct me and make my life better, but the way in which they tried to correct me created only fear in my heart. He did not correct me with love. This is one of the greatest mistakes I find in parenting. In an Indian, I'm not blaming India. India is a beautiful place. People are lovely. Our parents are wonderful. But there are some cultural barriers in how we correct our children and how love is connected in family and how fear separates families. Although our parents do for our good, although we want to do good for our parents, what overpowers love is fear. This is common mistake not only in Indian families. I apologize for using the word Indians. Because I am an Indian, I am using this word Indian. But unfortunately, there is a cultural barrier that affects every home between father and children, okay, and parents and children. There is a very beautiful religious writing. The wisdom of God has asked his writers to write a beautiful quote or a verse in the holy writings. It says, fathers, do not provoke the anger of your children, and children, obey your parents in all things. So it's two-way. When these two are followed in love, the act of fear in our life is gone and there is love. When corrections and when the intention of correction happens with love, then there is no barrier in relationship. And that's what I believe in. Russell, I give the time to you.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you've heard some of the stories, some of our stories, and I'm sure you all have your own stories as well to share and how fear has affected you. And I just want to thank Charles again and Josephine and Kay as well, as they have shared a little bit of their stories too. And look, we'd like to hear from you, about your stories, about your experiences, how fear has affected you. Please write to us on Sampurna Australia. Please leave your comments there. Any questions there? We'd like to hear from you. I don't know if I can try to put my. Let me try to share the screen and show you the number as well once again. So here it is. Uh, if you'd like to contact us by phone, you can do that as well here in Australia. It's 0478 791 119. Yeah, we'd love to have hear from you. We'd love to know how you've been going in this lockdown time as well. We are almost finishing fear. Next week we will share a little bit more of how we've overcome fear, how we have gone through some of these things, what has helped us, and maybe you'd like to share what has helped you too. So in the meantime, we thank you for joining us, and till next week, we hope you have a good week in lockdown. Take care, stay safe, stay well. Till next week, see you.